So when the day of Pentecost arrived, oh yeah, that was a big day. A lot of stuff happened that day. Do I need to review that day for you? I don't really want to right now, but I can, right? It was a big day. Like, the old covenant more or less was over, but no one really knew it yet entirely or understood it. And the new covenant kind of had begun Monday, Thursday. And yet this was the day in which it all really kind of went whack and changed over. And particularly if you're talking about the fulfillment of Old Testament prophecy about the end of the Old Testament itself and the end of prophecy, by the way, this is it. Okay. This is the fulfillment of things like Zechariah and Amos and all this stuff. So the day of Pentecost arrives, and this Pentecost being a Levitical festival. So this is an Old Testament festival. It's a harvest festival. It's about the reaping of the good grain, which should tell you something because the fields are ripe for the harvest, as the apostles are about to preach. The apostles, that's who the they is here, particularly the 11, but now plus one, Matthias, has been put into the place of Judas. They're all in one place. Suddenly there came from heaven a sound like a mighty rushing wind. It filled the whole house where they were sitting. And then there's an implication, by the way, in the word that says shook the house. Divided tongues as of fire rested on each one of them. Like, this is a big deal this day. This is kind of important. Now, I've said this before many other places. I'll say it again, though. If you are a good Hebrew scholar, if you love your Old Testament, and you know it well, and you understand how it interfaces with the New Testament, then you have to see that the fire and the wind and the earthquake as a triumvirate, as a group of three, they exist in another place in Scripture that's really, really important. That place is on Mount Sinai, the mountain of God, with Elijah having gone there because God told him to go there, fled for his life from Jezebel, wanting to end his life, all this kind of stuff. And God shows up. You remember this? And there's a fire, but he's not in the fire. And there's a wind, but he's not in the wind. And there's an earthquake, but he's not in those things. And then there's this still small voice that all the evangelicals will use to tell you to listen to your Jiminy Cricket inside of you being God's prophetic revelation every day for what toothpaste to buy, which is crazy talk. Okay. That still small voice is actually a voice. Elijah, why are you here? Right? Like an actual voice, just not loud and mean like I just did it. But here's the thing now. So now on the day of Pentecost arriving with these 12 apostles in one place, and suddenly there's all these things. Is the Spirit of God in these things? And the answer, if you know your Elijah story, is no. They're filled with the Spirit and they begin to speak with that still small voice. In other tongues, what? In other languages, as the Spirit gave them utterance. And what are they doing in these tongues with other languages? Do I need to take you down here and show it? They're talking about the resurrection of Jesus Christ. That's what they're doing.